All right, welcome back to All Day Live. The Wolves are back in action tonight in San Antonio. Another later tip-off, and by later it's not super late, but it is 8:30. Leading the series 1-0 after a pretty tight game a couple of nights ago. Star Tribune beat writer Chris Hine joining us live from San Antonio. Thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to be back.
Last time we spoke on Monday, we were talking about Cinco de Mayo, and you're going to experience that in San Antonio on an off day. You want to update us on how that went?
I'll be honest. I went down to the Riverwalk last night, and it wasn't as busy or hopping as I expected, to be honest. I was a little let down, if I'm being completely honest with you.
But you still had fun.
Yeah, I got together with a couple other writers that are down here, and watched the Lakers Thunder game a little bit, and had some enchiladas. So it was good. It was a good time.
That sounds great. Let's talk about. I just saw that you had posted on X that the Timberwolves are getting a pretty good addition back into the lineup tonight after an injury.
Yeah, Ayo Dosunmu is back after a 2-game absence. He was dealing with a lingering right calf injury that cost him some time in the regular season as well. Popped back up late in that Denver series. This is obviously a significant boost for them coming into tonight. You may remember in Game 4 of that Denver series, he had 43 points after Dante DiVincenzo went down and when Anthony Edwards went down with his knee injury. So another weapon, especially on the offensive end, and I think they need all the weapons they can get in this series to attack Victor Wembanyama in the paint. So obviously another huge boost for them on the injury front after getting Edwards back in Game 1.
Yeah, let's talk more about Wembanyama. He had 12 blocks. You wrote about this morning that Wolves coach Chris Finch says 4 or maybe 5 he thought were actually goaltending. What all did he say about that? He seemed a bit upset.
Yeah, well, Chris Finch, you don't have to get him going a lot to talk about the officiating sometimes. But I think, the goaltending came from a couple off the backboard were what he was talking about, and just some that the ball was on its way down and Wembanyama maybe blocked it up onto the backboard, so it looked like it was still going up, but it really wasn't. Those were kind of his fine points, I think, when it came to that. And overall, this is, he did this last series too with Jamal Murray, when Jamal Murray in Game 1 went to the free throw line, I think 16 times in Game 1, said a couple things about the officiating after that. It's setting a little bit of a tone and maybe just getting the officials to take an increased look at these goaltends or potential goaltends. Anything you can do to get a couple extra points for your team, because as you saw the other night, a couple extra points and the game can be completely different, and a different result could take place.
That was remarkable, the way that game ended the other night, and certainly Wembanyama, you expect him to block a lot of shots. He's 7'4".
Exactly, and I think that's what the Wolves' mindset is look, he's going to block shots. There's no use in trying to avoid it in some ways. Just keep playing your game, keep being aggressive, going to the rim. Maybe you get a foul call, maybe you get a goaltending call. And I think the other thing is, if he blocks the shot, don't give up on the play. That's the other part of the equation here. A block shot does not mean the end of a possession. And in a key moment, he had I think it was Wembanyama's 12th block in the fourth quarter, but the ball went to Jaden McDaniels at the free throw line. He got the rebound, and he threw it over to the corner to Mike Conley for a 3 that put the Wolves up 9 at that point. So I think that's the other point of emphasis, is fight for the rebounds after the blocks, and also get back in transition. Don't let them get started on the fast break after one of his blocks. But just know that the block doesn't necessarily mean that the possession's over for you.
Nas Reed kind of tweaked his right shoulder by heaving the ball down the court the other night. What's his status? Is this just something that hurt a little bit and he's fine now?
He's been playing through a right shoulder problem for months at this point, dating back to I think mid to late January, and he's been mostly playing through it. So he said it was a stinger. He said that was a really dumb thing that he did when he heaved the ball when he heaved the ball 75 feet at the end of the half. He said I shouldn't have done that. But he's been playing through it all postseason, and I actually think he had one of his better games of the postseason the other night. He came through with a couple big buckets. He had 9 rebounds, and he led the team in plus minus. I think he really got down and guarded in a way that he hasn't always done in his career and in the regular season.
Anthony Edwards, 25 minutes the other night in a surprise reappearance from his injury. When initially it was thought he would miss a couple of games of this series. First of all, your reaction to that? I know you wrote about his recovery efforts here. What did you think when you saw him, and what did you think about him getting 25 minutes in?
I don't know if anything ever surprises me with him, having covered him for now 6 years in the NBA and knowing his backstory and how he grew up and what he overcame as a football player in his youth. I don't think anything surprises me, but I think to come back that quickly at 9 days after hyperextending your knee and suffering a bone bruise, this is the craziest kind of comeback I think he's had in his career.
Yeah, he didn't.
I was surprised.
He didn't look like he was playing with an injury. I couldn't tell anyway.
He didn't. I think I only saw one instance at where he kind of grabbed at it, and I think it was like the third or fourth quarter. He grabbed at it after a kind of an awkward landing, but for the most part, I agree. I think he was conserving his energy and maybe saving a little bit of gas in the tank for, third quarter, second half. And so on some offensive possessions, you could just kind of see him hanging out in the corner. He wasn't really handling the ball as much as he used to. Defensively, I think there were some moments that he'd like to have back as well. He was late to a lot of closeouts, and late in the game, he allowed 2 offensive rebounds that allowed the Spurs back in it. So, but I think just overall, from a big picture perspective, the emotional lift of having him on the floor, the fact that it gives them a chance that you assume he's just going to try to expand his minutes and his role, just I think put a lot of wind in the sails of this team entering game 1. And his shot making in the second half was also important as well.
Do you expect more minutes out of him tonight?
Hard to say. We asked Chris Finch about that yesterday. He wasn't sure if he'd be able to expand that, so I guess we'll kind of find out pregame, see if Finch has an update on that for us.
All right, and then lastly, how do you expect the Spurs to maybe change their game plan or strategy tonight based on what they experienced from the Wolves on Monday?
I would expect Victor Wembanyama to be more aggressive attacking the basket on offense. I think he probably thinks he settled too much beyond the three-point line. He was 0 for 8 from three-point range. De'Aaron Fox had a really slow start to that game. I would expect him to also be more aggressive tonight. So I'm looking at those two guys to amp up their activity and their potential shot taking on the offensive end of the floor tonight for San Antonio.
All right, game at 8:30 tonight. Appreciate you taking the time again today on a game day to talk about this. Shaping up to be a fun series.